Hey everybody, it's Janae with the Mother's Treasure Paint Studio. Tonight we're doing this cute sheep from Diverse Woodworking. I've gone ahead and gave it a base coat before I hit record. You can see here I've got my idea on my phone. I've traced it out on my iPad. And I'm sorry you can't really see that detail, but what it's going to be is it's going to have the baby's name, the date, the time, the length, the weight, all those kind of little details that you get at a baby's birth. So, like I said, I've gone ahead and gave this base coat of white before I realized that my camera wasn't recording. So, take a minute and pause this video. You guys can catch up with me. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and start doing this brown. We're going to put brown on its little face and legs. So I'm going to go ahead and start that, but feel free to pause if you need to and get caught up. Get this little hairy thing off my brush. Sometimes I get those little stringies in my paint and you just have to work to get them out. But so you can see here, it's just a simple base coat of white, and I'm using this medium flat brush to give a base coat of brown on the feet and the face. And so now my next step is going to be, I'm going to add some little spirals in here for the sheep's body, and I'm going to use gray. So I've mixed a little white with a little bit of black here, and I'm trying to get a really light gray. And I'm just mixing with my flat brush just because that's easier. I'll switch over when it's time to paint actually to this smaller round tip brush. So let me get all my stuff together. And I'm just going to roll that in there, load it up with paint. Then we're going to come over here. I'm just going to reference my picture again to see where I put those spirals. And just a quick little spiral, you see. And now I feel like that's too dark, so I'm lighting that up by adding a little more white. I want it to be much lighter because I'm going to have the writing over top of it. So we're just going to add some white. That black just really goes a long way and makes it too dark if you're not careful. So I'm just going to lighten this up and go right back over top of that. And I hope you guys can see how much lighter that is. It's going to be a little harder for you guys to see, I think, because this white and the wet paint reflects light so much. I've tried to adjust the lighting a little bit so you can see it better, but we'll see. Hopefully everything will come out okay for you guys. So now I'm just trying to decide where I'm going to put the next swirls, the next spirals. There's really no rhyme or reason. I'm just going with whatever I think is a good place to put it. There's no right or wrong. Like I said, this is going to have writing over top of it. So, you know, you can do whatever you feel like you like. Make them a little bit different. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, some of them are tighter spirals. Just vary it up a little bit so that you have a little bit different dynamic. You don't want it to be the same throughout the entire piece and have a pattern. I mean, unless that's, of course, what you want to do, unless you want a pattern. So I'm not looking for any pattern on mine. I'm just trying to vary it up a little bit and try not to think about it too much. One of my favorite things I always say is that when you're thinking too much, you're starting to stress about it. So just relax and just go with whatever placement your gut tells you. So now I'm done with all those little swooshes, I think, those little spirals. So I'm just going to give it a few little touches of an outline here and there with my gray. We're going to come back over it in a little bit with a different color outline, so we don't have to be too exact with this. Notice I'm not going right up against the edge. I'm coming in just a little bit and giving the idea of the sheep's wool. It's okay if it hits the edge, it's not going to hurt anything. I'm just going around a couple times just to see where I think I would want to put something. And I think I like that. So what you couldn't see in the picture I tried to show you on my phone is that there's a little hint of blue. I've taken a little hint of blue and put it in here with this gray to mix it in. And I'm just going to go around each of these spirals again with just a little hint of blue, just to give it something different, just to help it stand out a little bit, give it a little color. I don't want it to be just gray and white, so I'm just going to give it a little hint of blue right inside each of these spirals, and I'm using that same little round brush. And again, these aren't perfect, and as you can see, I'm not doing the entire spiral. Now I am on some of them, like that last one, but for the most part, I'm just giving it a little swish here and there, and it's okay to vary it up. Give some of them a little more blue than others, but I think that gives it a nice bit of color without being too bold, because like I said, with this writing going to be on top, we don't want it to be too crazy busy or too bright, because we're going to want our lettering to stand out. So you guys can pick whatever color you like. I wanted it to be a little more muted, so I've done just a very, very, very light blue, and I hope you guys can see it good on the screen there. So just carry on filling in these different little spirals with your blue, and we'll come on and decide what we're going to do next once we get all these caught up. So the next step is going to be an outline, and I'm going to choose brown, like a darker brown gray for my outline. I want it to be darker than the tan that we have on the face, but I also don't want it to be so dark that it overpowers the piece. So I kind of want to mute it down a little bit with this white, and I'm going to pick up a little tiny bit of gray to see if I can get it to look kind of a grayish brown. I know that's kind of an odd an odd color, but I hope you can see on the screen what color I'm looking for here. See, I really like that. It pulls in that gray from the spirals, and it brings in the brown from the face and the legs. I think that's really pretty. So now we're going to go and do these outlines, and I'm trying to vary it up. Some of them are going to be right on the edge, and some of them are not. So see how I'm bringing it, it's on the edge, but I'm bringing it in just a little bit, so it kind of gives the idea of that sheep's wool. I want it to look fluffy, so I'm trying to give it a little bit of an extra swoosh here and there on the ends. Bring it in off the edge, so it's just not one little solid outline. And I love this color. I think it looks great. This is exactly the color I was wanting. I hope I mixed enough. If I didn't, I may have to come back in and mix a little bit more. Anytime you have to mix the color a second time, it just gets tricky because sometimes it matches and sometimes it doesn't. So when you're mixing, try your best to mix enough for the entire piece for everything you want to do with that particular color, because it's hard to match. Okay, so I'm really loving this. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the feet, except I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I'm just going to bring that outline in just a little bit. And it's not a solid line again, it's just little wisps here and there to give you the idea of an outline. And so now I'm going to do this face the same way with a few little broken lines. Look how cute! It's really coming together. I hope you guys are finding that you're enjoying your piece and it's turning out really nice. Okay, so now the next step is going to be this little nose. I'm going to give it a little tiny pink nose. I'm trying to mix up and get just the right color. Again, I want it to be a lot more pastel, so I'm picking up a lot of white to try to lighten it up. I don't want it to be very bright, super bold, because everything on this is a little bit muted. Everything on this is a little more pastel for babyish. So just pick up more and more white as needed to mix till you get the color you like. And I'm going to do just a little oval for the nose. I'll look back at my picture to make sure I'm putting it in the right spot. Just a little oval, and I know that it looks white probably for you guys on the screen because of the way the light's reflecting on the wet paint, but it is in fact a pastel pink, and once it dries you'll be able to see it much better. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here and pick up some more of that brown and give my sheep an ear. I did not leave an empty space for the ear like an outline, so we're just going to pick a spot where we think the ear would look like it needs to be, and it's going to be like a U, like a little sideways U. We're just going to fill that in with the lighter brown that we had for its feet and face, and then we're going to come back in and outline it with that darker brown gray color that we did the outline in. We may have to do 2 coats just to make sure we cover those spirals up good. So we'll let that dry, and in the meantime, I'll give this outline here. Just go ahead and cover it up and be done with the outline. There we go. Oh, he's looking so cute. So I should have done this a few minutes ago, but I'm going to mix a little bit more of this brownish gray color that I did for the outline, and I'm going to come in to the fur just a little bit in the wool and give it a little bit of a bump here and there, just so it gives it a little something fun. Just a little something extra here on the inside of the wool, and none of them are exact. They're all spread out a little bit, and some of them are fat, some of them are thin, and they're not all the same. I'll outline that ear real quick while I'm at it. It's still a little bit wet on the inside, so that outline's not showing up just right, but it looks good. It looks good enough. So now I'm going to go ahead and give my little sheep a mouth while I've got this same color on my brush, that brownish gray. And I give it a little eye with maybe, I don't know if I'm going to do eyelashes or not. I kind of like it without eyelashes, so I think I'm just going to leave it that way. Just a few little bumps up here in the top. Again, no rhyme or reason, just wherever I think little bumps would be cute. That one, I didn't have enough paint on my brush, so I'm gonna went over that one, make it look better. I think we're done with that part now. So now I'll give this, the little legs a little highlight, and a little highlight on the face, a little bit of white. And I'm just using this same brush, the same round tip brush, just a little bit here and there on the left side of the feet, a little bit under the chin, and the top of the face. And now, once the nose is dry enough, which I think it is, I'm going to give it just a little highlight on its nose. I know that's hard for you guys to see because that, first of all, the pastel pink's kind of hard to see the contrast with the white, but also the reflection of the wet paint. But once it's dry, you'll be able to tell what I've done. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to do my lettering, and normally I would use that little angle brush that you see there laying on the table. But because I want my letter for the baby's name to be much bigger, much fatter, I'm looking for my filbert brush. My filbert brush is kind of like a U on the end. It's a cross between a flat brush and an angle brush, maybe. The key to the lettering with this brush is that you load your paintbrush up very well. If you run out of paint on a letter, then you just have to go over it again, which is no problem. But it always works best when you have a loaded brush, a good loaded brush. So, and normally I would outline this in chalk, but because my chalk will not stand out on the white, I'm going to go ahead and just try to freehand it. And it's up to you if you choose to do that or not. And, of course, pick any name you like. I just keep adding more paint to my brush. I'm nervous that it's not going to turn out good. But we're going to go for it. So we're going to do a B for Bella. And you see how I'm turning my wrist and my brush for each different shape? That is really the key to this. You can't use your brush much like you're writing. You have to swirl it just a little bit with your wrist. You have to twist it a little bit to get the shape you want. And there we go, Bella. So see how those give it, that filbert brush gives it a perfectly round edge at the top and the bottom? And it was so much faster than using that small brush. I'd be here all day trying to make these big fat letters with that small brush. So the filbert brush works wonderful for that. And now I'm going to work on these smaller letters down at the bottom where it says date, time, weight. And for that, I am using this little angle brush that you'll always hear me talking about. It's just a small angle brush. And I, again, would normally have chalked out these words, but I'm being wild and crazy and doing it without my outline because I don't want to do the chalk because it wouldn't show up. So here we are trying to do it freehand, which is, again, something you take on at your own risk, especially if you're writing it in black paint, because black paint's really unforgiving. So if you feel brave enough to try it, go for it. We're just going to give it a nice little line. See how great this angle brush is? I mean, it's like the filbert, but it gives you a smaller line, you know, a smaller, thinner line, like a little pencil. So it's just perfect for these small words. Now you'll notice that I am filling my brush frequently because each letter you're going to want to load your brush again, just because that's what gives you those crisp edges. If you try to do too many letters without loading your brush, you're going to end up with little hairy sprigs at the end. The loaded brush is really what makes the big difference. So you can do, once you do a few, you get the hang of when it's time to load your brush again. Okay, so now I'm going to do, so we've got date, time, and I'm going to do length. No, weight. Weight's what's important. So we're going to do weight and doing the exact same thing, and I hope everybody's doing okay with their lettering. One of the things you can use if you have them on hand instead of chalk on this is a colored pencil. If you have colored pencils, those would work really well for writing this out and then painting over that. But again, I just had chalk and I knew that wasn't going to show up on this white. All right, there we go. We've got our little lines. They're a little uneven, so I'm going to have to try to bring out that top line to even it up with these bottom ones. I went a little far. There we go. Yay! There we go. Look how cute that looks. I'm so excited. So now I just need to give my little nose a darker outline. I was waiting on this pink to dry, and I could have done it with the hairdryer and got it good and dry, but I had other things I could work on in the meantime, so it was fine. So once I've got that done, I need to start working on these letters. Now I'm just going to give them a little bit of a gray highlight. So I'm going to rinse my brush out here and then pick up some black and mix out a little bit of gray here. Again, black goes forever, so you don't need much, just a pinch. Now I'm going with this little tiny liner brush. And you know what? This looks like it's still wet, so I'm gonna, yep, I picked up some black paint, so I'm gonna have to dry this with the hairdryer. Now you'll notice I moved my plate out of the way just because I don't want this hot air to blow dry the paints that I'm working with. So we've moved the plate out of the way, and you'll see that shine that I've been talking about, that reflection will just disappear once that paint dries, and you'll have a nice matte finish. So there we go. Now we'll go back over this with our gray. Notice I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm just giving one little line here and there to give the idea of a highlight. And I'm only going to do this on the large letters. I'm not going to do anything on the small letters. But because I want the name to stand out a little more than the rest. So now we're done. Look at that, you guys. It's so adorable. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to paint with you again. See you next time.